There's another point we must take into account, the fact that what happens in Valencia then is reproduced later in the Spanish level. So Valencia is a kind of laboratory, is the scenario we will see what is going to happen later at the Spanish level. This happened in 2015 with the first botanic government, that is the first leftist government in Valencia, leftist government in terms of coalition government, and later that was reproduced at the Spanish level. So it could be a turning point. These elections, there is a change in Valencia that could be interpreted, could be a lecture, a possible lecture that would be this one, that a change is coming at the Spanish level. So if the leftist bloc lose the election.
And what's interesting with Pedro Sánchez that a lot of the policies put in place by him and some of his partners are quite popular, some of the social policies, but a lot of the handouts on the economy to deal with the cost of living crisis during the pandemic and the impact of the war in Ukraine, higher minimum wage, higher pensions. So the policies are popular, but he is not. And the polls show that the centre-right is actually ahead of him in the vote potentially for the end of this year. So is he the problem? Is he an unpopular political figure?
I don't think Pedro Sánchez as a political leader is a problem, because he's unpopular, yes, but at the same time we must take into account what happened during the last year. So we have the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, we have the war, we have the inflation, and now in Spain it's very difficult for most of the middle class and low class to reach the end of the month because of the inflation, but also because of the increase of the rate. They have an impact on mortgage. So people, normal, ordinary people, so middle class and low class, have a lot of problems.
So it's all about the cost of living crisis.
Exactly. So this is a bad year, even if the economy okay. Now the last facts is that the GDP growth is slowing.
Yeah.
So we don't know what will happen, but it's at the same time it's also true that Valencia is also a different scenario from an economic perspective, because we are a tourist power.
Yes, of course. Tourism is a big part of the Spanish economy.
It's here already. Now it's raining, but summer is here, and the tourist industry is doing very well.
And they hope it will be an extra boost for the economy this year.
Exactly, but the problem is the inflation and the rate.
Of course.
The high rate.
The high interest rate squeezing people. Another question from me, the far right. There's been a huge fragmentation of the Spanish political scene recently, and one element has been the emergence of the far right, which was quite late compared to other European countries, with the party Vox arriving on the political scene. It's the case in this region and nationally. Do you think it's a phenomenon that is here to stay on the Spanish political scene and is likely to gain more and more traction, like we've seen, for example, in France with Marine Le Pen?
Yes, no, the far right, like Casmot says, the radical right, Vox, the populist radical right, is not going to disappear immediately, because has been able and is able to attract the people, this middle class and low class with
the discontent.
Yes, and the discontent. At the beginning, the voters, Vox voters, were more from high middle class. Okay. But right now, I think these elections, the general elections in particular this winter, and these regional elections next Sunday, we already could have some data about that. Low and middle class will vote for Vox. Yes, because this particular economic context.